What I'm going to ask you to do today is work. And I'm going to just kind of give a kickoff and then let y'all brainstorm on areas where you think you need to give advice to the governor, to Catherine, and to the state legislature. The first area that I want to make aware of is this. The universities often say there are certain kids that are not entering to the degree programs where we need to increase the number of degrees. Same thing with the community colleges. We're not having enough people from our high schools to go into areas in the community colleges where they're getting the most demand from the employers. That usually, by the way, in the community college, the mechanics, electricians, nurses, IT. As if we continue to have shortages in these areas, the employers will go elsewhere. And this is where we're the competition. We're competing against, our neighboring states. So we've got a skills gap, and I think the issue that I need your feedback on is twofold. One is, how do we convince, or how do we at least educate the middle school and high school kids about all the different areas that they can go in, including the areas of interest, but make sure also, does that area of interest have some opportunity to make a living? A second half of that, we can't afford to have educators in one silo and people in the business community in another silo. How do we close that gap? And we've done some things which Catherine will talk to you about through our business education group, where we're trying to get teachers to actually go out and visit the business people on site and even work for the business people during their summer time off and get internships, so when they come back to school that they can explain to the students, this is what's happening. This is what a manufacturing plant looks like. This is what an IT challenges are. This is what it's like to work for a company or a startup company. What majors people are going in universities too can make a difference. By the way, even if they're interested in teaching, what's the best degree to get in teaching if they want to be a teacher? You know that. There's more resumes in some areas than other areas, and there's more likelihood that your market demand may be greater. The second area that I need your help on is that I anticipate that we're going to have a very extensive conversation on pay raises, more pay raises for educators. The good news is the budget's looking pretty good. Our revenue is coming in even higher than we anticipated, which is excellent news for everyone. The debate's going to be, okay, what do you do with that revenue? And I'm sure a part of that debate is pay raises not only for teachers but for state employees. The question will be how much and how to distribute it. And there's a debate going on in all of education. Is, do you just give across the board and everyone gets the same, or do you base it upon other factors, including performance, or do you base it upon the marketability of certain degrees over other degrees, which is true. We have higher attrition in some. Math and science is probably the highest attrition because they're in more demand. IT is in very high demand. This committee brought to us in the past was a career ladder for teachers. Maybe a teacher 1, teacher 2, teacher 3, and you would show leadership, you would help other teachers, you would have added responsibility, but for that, you get more money. My thought process, and I have a bias here, I think there ought to be a promotional track for teachers. And where if you reach a certain level and you get good feedback, then you get paid more. And you lead other teachers too and help them become better teachers. In other words, the top teacher should make the same as the principal. You have the same opportunities. How much flexibility do you give to principals and to superintendents and to local people to determine? If we just gave them the money, let them determine how to distribute it. One or two other areas is testing. I hear from all the teachers going, we're giving too much test, or the tests are at the wrong time, or why do we have to take this test to the exact same test, or why do we give this test and we don't get the results until after the students aren't our students anymore, therefore we're wasting our time. So it might be a good way to get this, bounce off some of the ideas off this group, or some of the recommendations, just to get some pre-feedback on what do we do about all these different tests. And by the way, not only teachers test on students, but also all the different tests for teachers, which sometimes, after a while I've heard feedback from the teachers, all we're doing is testing. So I need help on that. And who better than the teachers actually doing it? And the last one I'll say is digital. And there have been some great success stories, and there have been some also tremendous failures, where people bought all this equipment ready for technology, and then they didn't know how to use it, or they implemented it wrong, or they became too dependent upon it, or the teachers were never trained, or you name it. Long distance learning and also technology within the classroom. Let's repeat the good things that are happening out there. Let's don't repeat the bad things that are out there. And let's learn from what's working, and then let's disregard those things that aren't working, whether it's been not working for 20 or 30 or 50 years or even a year. Let's revisit those things. And if you know special things like that, you might, and some things might be real small things, other things might be big things. But let's continue to make progress as the committee.